Okay, everybody. Not tea, mashka. Okay, we're holding. Today is Tuesday, the first day of Kislev, the Chodesh Kislev. We're going to start with the portion of the week. And we're holding Shlishi, Vayigdal, chapter 26, verse 13. Vayigdal Aish. It's talking about Yitzchak Avinu. The man became great. Vayelech Hoyla V'Gadol. He grew constantly greater until he became very wealthy. So that says, how wealthy? They would say, rather the menorah of Isaac, mules, than the Avimelech, silver and gold. So expression, I'd rather have his menorah because he was so wealthy. You'd rather be around him than around Avimelech the king. Verse 13. He had sheep and he had cattle and lots of possessions. The Philistines were jealous as usual. So Rashi says, Avuda Rabba, he had many activities in Old French. Avuda means a jobs, whatever it means production. He had a lot of production. He was very, very productive and wealthy. Further, verse 15. All the wells that the servants of Abraham dug in the times of Abraham, system of Plishtim, the Philistines covered them up. After they filled them with earth. Why did they do that? Who would go fill up wells? Because they said there was a danger to us due to the armies that come upon us. They come for the water. So that's why they found an excuse. Imagine they did something against themselves. Thus the hatred of Yitzchak. And it never stops that. Vayem, verse 16. Vayem Avimelech Yitzchak. So Avimelech said to Yitzchak, Lake Meitanu. You need to move on. You're becoming too strong and people are getting jealous. It's time for you to move to a different part of the land. Misham Yitzchak. So Yitzchak said, okay. God, he moved he went to the valley of Gerar and he lived there. So Gerar he was far away from the city. Verse 18. Vayashev Yitzchak. So Yitzchak again dug wells. He dug another well. He found the well that his father dug, and he used to play with the Philistines covered after the death of Abraham. He called it in the names that his father called it. So Rashi says, and Isaac again dug. So the meaning is the wells that had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and that the Philistines had they filled it up. Isaac traveled from Gerar and went back and dug them up. Verse 19. So Isaac's servants dug in the valley. They found another well of water. So again, the jealousy did not end. The shepherds of Gerar quarreled with Isaac. Shepherds, they said, no, this belongs to us. You dug it in our area. They called the water, they called it Asek. There was an argument. He is asking that they argued with him. So the Asek means contention. He's asking they engaged with him about the strife and contention. They were arguing. So they went and built another. They went and dug another well. They argued about it. And they called it Sitna. Now she says Sitna in Old French is harm, wrong, injury. So he moved away further from them. He dug another one, and they did not quarrel. He called that well Rechovis, to be wide. Because he said, the Eibishter made for us room, and we will multiply in the land. Actually, the sages say that these three wells is symbolic to the first Beis Hamikdash, the second Beis Hamikdash, which was argued upon it and ultimately destroyed, and the third Beis Hamikdash is symbolic to the third well, that we will prosper in the land. And that ends that the Midshem, the third Beis Hamikdash, will prosper in the land, and that ends the Chumash of the day. And now we go to the Tanya of the day. Continue this teaching of the Alter Rebbe, very deep concept in Kabbalah. And again, Kuntas Achen is with the Alter Rebbe tries to explain statements of the Zohar and contradictions in the Zohar, which he spoke about in the Tanya. So in general, just to give you try to give you an understanding as we go into this teaching of the Alter Rebbe, is that in every Alter Rebbe explains in general there are four worlds. The Zohar explains the Arizal. There are four worlds: the world of emanation, the world of creation, the world of formation, and the world of action. In each of these worlds, there are in general 10 esespheres, 10 manifestations, 3 intellectual, 7 emotional. But out of the 7 emotional, from Chesed to Malchus, there are really 6, and those 6 come into Malchus, the last one, the 7th one, which is Malchus, kingship. They come into kingship, which is the lowest level of that world, but that lowest level creates the next world. So let's say the world of Asiya, the world of action, which we are in the world of action, we receive our life force from Malchus, from the world of Asiya. That's where we receive our life force. So everything comes into Malchus, and Malchus gives us life. And that's why all brachas, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech, the aspect of Malchus, HaMelech, that the Eibush is a Melech. That's the concept, that's the level which gives the life force for the world. So to every level, the Malchus, the Atzilus, is the vessel for all the previous levels. It comes into Malchus, and Malchus creates the next world. So Malchus, the Atzilus, in the world of emanation, creates the world of creation. Malchus, in the world of creation, creates the world of formation. Malchus, the world of formation, creates the world of action. So in essence, Malchus is the beginning and the end of everything. And the truth is that there needs to be something that pushes things into Malchus. So Zeir Anter needs to come into Malchus. And to be able to come into Malchus, they need something to push it, to generate it to come into Malchus. So that's why, in general, we make a bracha, we make a blessing. What is the concept of a blessing? The concept of blessing comes from the word berach. It comes from the word abricha. It's the bridge. We're trying to take godly blessings from above and bring it into Malchus. We're trying to. That's what we make. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. As we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. We take all levels and we bring it into Malchus, so that it would affect the world. If we don't bring it into Malchus, it's not going to affect the world. That means, in essence, if we reach up to, as the Zohar says, if we reach up to, our prayer reaches only up to Malchus of Asiya, then there won't be any blessings in the world. We need to reach up to above Malchus, so pushes the higher levels into Malchus. And that's the way the bracha can ultimately affect the world. So that's why tefillah needs to have kavanah, so that it goes above the world. Malchus, if without kavanah, without intention, it only reaches Malchus, that level, the level of kingship. But if it only reaches level of kingship, then it will not bring about the higher worlds to come into it. We need to go higher than it. And by going higher than it, we impress upon it to come down into it. And that's why that's Kavanah does that. Kavanah brings, the Zohar says, Kavanah gives our prayer that it goes higher than the world. So it goes higher than the malchus of the world of Asiya. And by that, it pushes it in the brachas. It takes the higher world and it brings it back down into malchus so that it should be able to affect the world. This is going to be the Alter Rebbe. This Tanya lessons, read it. As I said, these Tanyas of these days and the next couple of weeks, till Yutas Kislev is going to be very deep concepts in Kabbalah. Masha because of Pasha Pekudei, that the Zohar writes. As I said, the Alter Rebbe is going to bring two Zohars seemingly contradict each other. He's going to answer the contradiction. That the Zohar writes in Pasha Pekudei, that prayer without intent is repelled into the lowest heaven. So the Zohar writes that in Pasha Pekudei, indicates that it's allowed to rise at least to that point, to the lowest heaven. Ubepash is Vayakel, the Zohar in the portion of Vayakel says that the Dafke Ig Malik Kedas Yos, the implication is that only if it was seemingly words, meaning prompted by intent, do the appointed angels ascend with it to the atmosphere of the heavens above. So it sounds like the Zohar is contradicting each other. One Zohar says if you pray without intent, it reaches up to the least to the lowest level of heaven. Over here, the Zohar says in Vayakel that it doesn't go anywhere. So the Rebbe says, like the Alter Rebbe is like Kashmiri. It's not really a contradiction. For the expression in Pekud, the lowest level of the heavens that governs the world. That's what it means, the lowest heaven. What does it mean? As I just said, Malchus of Asiya. That's what the Zohar means in Pasha Pekud. It means Malchus of the world of Asiya. Where in Pasha Vayakel, the reference is Zah of Asiya. As is written, Eitz Chaim Shara Hashemus, in the reference to Zah of Asiya, see there. So it's talking about the one of Pasha's Vayakel, Pekudei is talking about Malchus of the world of Asiya, which we're in the world of Asiya. And in Vayakel, it's talking about the Zah, the Midas of the world of Asiya. Alter Rebbe continues. As to apparent the Mashal as to apparent implication in Pasha Pekudei, the Gam Tefillah Basilis Allah Halei Charishain, that even invalid prayer whose intent is confused with alien thoughts, ascends to the first chamber where it is hurled down. And this chamber is not only Zah of Asiya, it goes to Zah of Bria. It comes out from there. So it even goes higher than the world of action. It goes that Zohar. It says it goes up to Zah of the world of Bria. Wow, that's unbelievable. So the Rebbe says like Kashmiri. It's not this presents no difficulty. For Sharafi Kalavenis Mamish, because if you know Kabbalah, it says even palpable sins, minor and grave, ascend there. Ascend to the world of Zah Bria. It descends as far as the fourth chamber in the world of Bria, as it's written in the Zohar. But what's the problem? It is thus certain it ascends there, but it's in a negative way. It means that the positive ascends to a higher place. The negative also ascends to a very high place, but it's a negative concept. And now it affects even the higher worlds, this negative concept. And it is thus certain that in essence, the above ascension are not identical. And there's no comparison or similarity between them, except that the common name, that this will suffice for the discern. So the Alter Rebbe says, in essence, the elevation of good action means that they're actually uplifted to a higher degree of holiness, where they accomplish whatever they intend to accomplish. With regard to sin, however, their elevation to a higher world brings about a blemish there. So too, when we say that the invalid prayer ascends to a first chamber, we're not at all speaking about the kind of elevation that takes place when prayer is earthed in a proper intent. So it means in the portion with the Zohar says it goes higher, it might go higher, but it has no accomplishment in the higher. And where it is only accomplished, since it has no intent, only accomplishes in a slower level. And that's the meaning of the Zohar. This will also enable to grasp the statement of the Zohar. With this understanding, will understand the statement of the Zohar on page 247. that in the second chamber, there is to be found the appointed over the garments that clothe the soul as a result of the performance of mitzvahs. So it's so he says over there in the second chamber, in the world of Bria, the Zohar writes, we find there's an angel that clothes the Jew when he does a mitzvah. Even though the mitzvahs that are performed by the extension of his soul's garments are fashioned thereby are in the lower Gan Eden, the world of Asiya. So it's a contradiction again. I state in the Zohar on page 210. So seemingly that there's a contradiction in the Zohar. Is it in the world of creation, or is it in the world of action? But it's not a contradiction, because even though it's in a higher world, but it's not there in the same capacity like it's in the lower world. And therefore, the Zohar says, yeah, you might reach up to a higher world, but it has no effect in the higher world. It's there and it goes down. So it just bounces off there. When the Zohar writes where it affects, so therefore the Zohar says, if you daven without kavana, my tefillah affects only the world of action. Malchus, the world of action. My mitzvahs are closed in certain chambers of the world of action, even though it might ascend to a higher world. Okay, so it comes out from here that invalid prayer is superior to Torah study with improper intentions. Because she tachas Hashemis, which the latter never, if you learn Torah for wrong reasons, as the Zohar says, you don't reach above the sun. But prayer without intention reaches above the sun. That means, meaning above the sun is above the world. So if I learn Torah with negative reasons, for self-grandeur, for self-glory, then it will not reach. The Zohar says my learning Torah will not reach above the sun. It means it will not leave the world. It will not leave the world. But if I daven, if I pray, and I have no intention, it will leave the world. My prayers go higher than the world. While prayer, even invalid prayer, is into the heavens, albeit the lower heavens, but it still reaches above the world. But if I learn Torah, not for negative reasons, but shaloi lishma, not for any godly reason, I learn Torah, I enjoy learning, I like learning Torah, not because I want to look for negativity. I'm just learning Torah for not the godly intent, only because I'm really for my hidden aspect of my soul. So then it reaches higher than prayer. Torah that I learned, the second level of Torah I mentioned yesterday, that I learned it for selfish reasons. I've learned it not for godly reasons per se, but I've learned it because I like to learn Torah. Is some reason it inspires me. I don't know. I enjoy learning the wisdom of God. And the real reason is because I have an innate love of God within me, my hidden love of God within me. So the Alter Rebbe said, my learning of Torah for no reason at all, just for my hidden reason of my love of God, shouldn't be worse than children learning Torah. That the Torah of children learning reaches up above. Actually, it's brought down some places that it goes all the way to Atzilus, because it has no sin. Salak leila, the breath of ascends aloft. Afim shaleil mamash, even though he learned the Torah for non-altruistic reasons, but only prompted by the fear of punishment by the teacher. So the child learns Torah not because he knows the learning of Torah. He's afraid of the teacher. He's afraid of the teacher, and that's why he's learning Torah. Now he sees the beauty of Torah. See there on page 255, where the Zohar states that the angels elevate the breath of children to the world of Atzilus. That's so powerful. are the words of children that learn Torah. Hevel she'ein beichet, they have breath that have no sin. That even though they learn Torah not for the sake of Lishma, they learn Torah because they're afraid of their parents or they're afraid of their teacher. But their Torah reaches up to the world of emanation. So therefore, if a person doesn't learn Torah Lishma, it shouldn't be worse than that. Maybe he doesn't reach up to the world of emanation, but it surely, because he has sin, he's an adult, so surely reaches up, as it's brought down, reaches up to the world of creation. And that ends the Tanya of the day. My friend, today is Rosh Chodesh. We start the Tehillim from the beginning of the book of Tehillim, chapter 1 to chapter 9. Say your Tehillim, chapter 1 to chapter 9, and you have accomplished Chitas for the day. Today is Rosh Chodesh, say L'chaim too. Today is a day of redemption, great, great celebration. We are having an unbelievable speaker tonight in the aspect of joy, which today we need to have a lot of joy. It's Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the joy of the Rebbe, and beginning of a whole new reality in Chabad. And therefore, we're going to have Rabbi Shachar at 7:30 tonight, all the way from London, England, who's going to talk to us about Rosh Chodesh Kislev and about the concept of Simcha, to be happy and joyful. Have a wonderful, beautiful, happy day. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tonight at 7:30 and tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a beautiful, gorgeous